This is a story that's been shrouded in secrecy for years. It takes place in an isolated part of Alaska, 200 miles south of the Arctic Circle. The village is called St. Michael, and it's home to some 360 Alaska Native people. As a journalist and as a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribes, I've been writing about Native Americans my whole career. But little could prepare me for what happened in St. Michael. Many here still remember how innocently it all began.
Growing up, there's so many good memories. The thing I enjoyed the most was the community gathering. The community being together as one and having fun. It was good to see people happy.
My grandpa taught me how to hunt and fish. I used to love to go out with him, go fishing, hunting and trapping.
My earliest memories was people were very devoted Catholics. We went catechism right out of school. We ran straight across to the church where right next to the Catholic church from the old school.
The church in St. Michael was built in the early decades of the 20th century as missionaries helped spread Catholicism across Native Alaska.
Before the white man came, the Eskimos believed that everything had a spirit. We respected everybody, and we knew that there was somebody up there taking care of us. Now, almost everybody here is Catholic.
To run the parish in St. Michael, the church sent Father George Endall. One of the state's pioneer priests, Endall moved from church to church throughout Alaska before landing in St. Michael in 1968. He brought with him a church volunteer named Joseph Landowski, who he'd given a job to years earlier.
We don't know a lot about him. He's somewhat of a mystery. Endall brought him in as a sort of a novice master at the school. He was, we were told, placed in charge of the boys' dormitory.
In St. Michael, Landowski would train to become a deacon, but the people here looked up to him as a priest all along.
He had a really nice singing voice. His voice was very nice at saying prayers. At the time I worked as altar boy too with him. I was the one to be a deacon as a kid.
In the beginning, yeah, I wanted to go to catechism. It was fun until weird things started happening.
After Mass, the parents would start leaving, going home, and Landowski would pull out checkers or chess or card games.
He'd offer us money or drinks or candy or something we want, to do anything to get us at the church.
I was age 12. When he asked me to go in the bedroom with him, I was asking him what for, and he said I would find out, so I followed him in. I was kind of afraid though, because when he shut the door and locked it, he pulled my pants down and he takes his false keys off, put them on a dresser.
I was just a kid, didn't know nothing. Father Endall and Joseph Landowski, they couldn't stop molesting me when they started. It was almost an everyday thing. Father Endall was telling me that it would make me closer to God.
Father Endall and Joe Landowski moved through a series of Alaska villages, always in very remote parts of the state, always with no one there to supervise them except themselves. They were a law unto themselves, and they did whatever they wished.
There would be other abusers associated with the church in St. Michael. One seemed to favor exposing himself to girls.
When it first happened to me, I was 5. I can remember the day putting my head down when I saw him come out with no clothes, and I was scared. The next thing I remember, somebody was touching me on my arm. He would ask if we wanted to touch his private area, and he would say he would give us candy or give us a good prize.
This was 1970. It was absolutely unthinkable that the Catholic Church could be involved in the sexual abuse of children. There was nowhere for the kids to hide. There was no one they could talk to. The adults believed the abusers over their own children. It was a perfect storm for molestation.
He told us that if we told anybody, they wouldn't believe us because he worked for the church, he works for God. And he was right. Nobody would believe us.
I told my dad what happened in the church. I told him that guy touched me in my mouth and in my bottom. I remember my dad grabbing his belt. He hung me upside down. And he beat me. Told me never to blame priests like that. My dad went out. He came back pretty drunk. I saw him holding a pistol in his hand. He looked at my mom and pointed the gun at her. The gun went off. My brother was in front. Bullet pierced both of them. I held him in my arms. My brother didn't have to die just because I told my dad the truth.
The abuse in St. Michael would continue for 5 more years, as Ben and the others suffered almost daily molestation. Then, one day, in the summer of 1975, Joseph Landowski would finally be caught in the act.
My cousin Martha came and she saw what Joseph was doing and she screamed and she said, "Oh, Ben, I'm gonna go tell, I'm gonna go tell." He went after her and tried to give her money or candy just to stop her from talking. She said, "No, leave me alone," and then she went running out.
As word spread, pressure mounted on Father Endall to act.
The police were not called. Even when there was an eyewitness to the abuse, the authorities were not called. The church handled it internally. Landowski was transported out of the town and left the state, and as far as we know, never returned.
But Father Endall stayed. Through it all, he remained revered and above suspicion. Although for 8 more years, he would continue to molest the boys and girls of St. Michael. Under Father Endall's watch, nearly 80% of the town's children, literally an entire generation, were molested.
The odds of being abused as a little Catholic boy or a little Catholic girl in that diocese was staggeringly high, higher than any other place in the United States that has ever been investigated to date.